And they had a lot of them, ships in mothballs, and one day I didn't have anything to do, and so I'm walking out where all the ships were tied up, all the mothball ships, and these are ones that they were ready to dismantle and do all this, and I was walking along, and all of a sudden I looked over, and there was the USS New Orleans. And I realized that was the ship my uncle died on, and of course they're in mothballs, and nobody's there, so I managed to get on board, and I'm standing on this deserted cruiser, and I found the radio room, and I spent the whole day sitting there just imagining that my uncle was here. Frankie Timmers, Reverend Frankie Timmers, who's in Morristown, New Jersey, sent this out over the email to all the ministers, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. How many are Garrison Keillor fans? Okay. This he wrote in 2004. And I'm going to share this with you. It's called Memorial Day Sonnet. But there's a lesson in this that we can apply to this morning's lesson. Memorial Day Sonnet. And this was written in 2004. We're here to honor those who went to war, who did not wish to die, but did die grievously in 1861 and in 2004. Though they were peaceable, as you or me, young and innocent, they knew nothing of the horror. Singers and athletes and in all well-bred, their sergeants mercifully made them into warriors. And at the end, they were moving straight ahead. As we look at these headstones, row on row on row, let us see them as they were, laughing and joking on that bright, irreverent morning long ago. And once more, let our hearts be broken. God have mercy on them for their heroic gift. May we live the good lives they should have lived. They should have lived. Think about it. Whenever I do a memorial service or a Easter service or a funeral, I always remind people, because every time you do a funeral, you always have people sitting there who wish they had said more or done more or hugged them more or said, "I love you" more. How many got the "I love you" thing I sent out yesterday? Did you get that? Was that wonderful or what? Anyhow. And I always remind people at an Easter service that look at the people around you and see who's here today that maybe you should hug and say, "I love you" too. And maybe when you go home today, pick up the phone and call somebody you haven't said "I love you" to in a long time. Because you know what? When you do that, who are you helping? Who are you blessing by doing it? Yourself, aren't you? Why? Because when we let whatever we let move through us as us, it can do nothing but what? Create something for us. And if you're going to let something move through you, why not let something move through you that's healthy-minded, that's love-minded, that's wonderful-minded? Dr. Craig Carter, my wonderful teacher, said, "Consider the concept of a deity too universal to be defined by doctrine, too impersonal to be limited by dogma, and yet too loving to be refused or to refuse any person." It's too loving to refuse anyone. That means the Buddhist and the Baptist. It means the Catholic and the Jew. It means Islam and the Sikhs. It means everybody everywhere. It was all created out of. You see, our challenge is not to argue with theology. Isn't that wonderful to find a religion that doesn't argue with theology? Because we're dealing with what? The one tree of life. And in religious science, unity, divine science, what do? We honor the root of that tree. We don't argue with the leaves. We honor the root of all great thinking. Why? Because of what happens to us. If we study this in the right way, we are doing what? We are studying the greatest minds that have ever existed on this planet. And we're trying to figure out how to explain it to ourselves in today's language. And not just know about it, because there's a lot of people, as I said in the beginning, who know about this way of thinking. Few of them let go and let themselves think this way. Dr. Ernest Holmes says in his wonderful book, The Voice Celestial, it's not enough. Reverend Lacey talked about it last week. It's not enough that the great knew what they knew. What I need to know is what I myself can know, not just honor the fact that they knew it. Because you see, the great teachers have always pointed to you. They never pointed to themselves. Jesus said, don't even call me good. I'm not doing this. It's the Father within me. And then he added this, the Father within me is where? In you also. For what I've done, he said, you can do in greater things. He knew that once you prove something, you just prove that everybody can prove it. This is why in religious science we look at Jesus as the great example, not the great exception. He said, follow me. He said, don't you know your God? He said, our Father. Not some of us, all of us. No exception. See, it's not the rules, regulations, and dogmas that make you who you are. If you need to have rules and regulations, there's plenty of it out there. But our challenge is to do what? This, I think everybody who finds religious science, whether we're coming from Christianity or Judaism or Islam or what, isn't it wonderful in this community, in this church, we have Islamic members, we have Jewish members, we have Christian, we have Protestants, Catholics, everybody. I think Jim was an Orthodox Druid, weren't you? Oh, yeah, right. Half you people say, what is that? So, anyhow, he worships a tree. No, anyhow. But the challenge, again, is to wake up and understand nobody has a copyright on truth. And if we're going to communicate with the universe, which is what our topic is this morning, what we need to know is there is one absolute self-existent cause, and it's right where we are. It's not somewhere outside of us. It's right where we are right now. It is everything we are, and if we know this and know we know it, the knowing itself becomes wisdom. The wisdom becomes the wonder of our way. The wonder of our way. Ask yourself this morning, what is the wonder of your way? Is it doubt? Is it fear? Is it reasons to be unhappy? Is it analyzing yesterday so you can't free yourself into tomorrow? See, whatever happened yesterday, guess what? It's over. How many know you can't do anything about yesterday? But how many know you can turn a negative yesterday into a positive now? And you know how to do it? Pull the wisdom out of it. And apply it today. I quoted Raymond Charles Barker in a treatment I just sent to Creative Thought magazine. And what he said was, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep having what you've always had. Okay? And if you want, how many want something new in your life? Where does that start? With somebody else? Starts with you. So ask yourself this morning, what do I need to free myself from in order to let the new happen? We were talking about in second year class the other night. There's a workshop that I have done for years in Science of Mind 100 in the first year class.